So, uh, I want you to picture a delicate vintage light bulb, you know the kind, with the exposed filament glowing that fragile, warm orange
Oh,
color.
yeah, like an old Edison bulb.
Exactly. Now imagine taking that tiny bulb and trying to wire it directly into the main reactor of a nuclear power plant.
Well, it wouldn't even glow. I mean, it would just vaporize instantly from the sheer volume of energy.
Right. Because without a massive transformer in the middle to step down the current to, filter all that raw, overwhelming power into something the bulb's hardware can actually handle, the system simply shatters.
Yeah, it just completely burns out.
And that exact mechanism is basically the foundation for our deep dive today. We are looking at the latest Beyond the Shell, or BTS, research pipelines for the week ending July 17th, 2026.
It's a really fascinating week for the research, honestly.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is to unpack this recurring theme that just keeps popping up across ancient history, modern geopolitics, and even astrophysics. It's this invariant truth that we are living inside an ultimate cosmic filter.
Which is a huge, profound shift from the narrative we usually operate under.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for a few centuries now, the default assumption has been that we live in a dead machine universe.
Right, like a cold, empty stage.
Exactly, an empty stage where we are just accidental actors and the universe itself doesn't need an observer.
Hmm.
But as our modern scientific maps start, breaking at the edges, and as we look closer at our own psychological limits, an entirely different model is resurfacing across the globe.
And that's the concept of the cosmic egg, right?
Yes, the cosmic egg.
And just to be super clear for everyone listening, when we say cosmic egg, we aren't talking about like a giant literal chicken egg floating out in the Milky Way.
No, no, definitely not.
The research frames it as an advanced observer safety architecture.
Right. So going back to your nuclear plant analogy,
Uh-huh.
if ultimate reality is just infinite cosmic signals and boundless energy, why don't our finite nervous systems just short circuit?
Right. Why don't we just vaporize like the light bulb?
Exactly. And the answer, which is echoed in deep philosophical traditions globally, is that human consciousness acts as a biological compression system.
A compression system.
Yeah, it's a vital rate-limiting filter. It steps down infinite information so your physical body can actually survive the experience of being alive.
Wow.
The boundary of the universe isn't some brick wall billions of light years away. It's right here. It is precisely where infinite experience steps down into the structured reality you interact with daily.
Okay, so if we accept that this cosmic filter exists literally just to keep us from burning out, how does that translate into what we're experiencing right now? Because looking at the Sunday astrology outlook for this week, it feels incredibly heavy.
It's a very intense week energetically.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about deep systemic dynamics and societal friction. Honestly, if I'm hitting a wall at work this week or, watching global geopolitical borders tighten on the news, my first instinct is to just blame human incompetence or bad luck.
Sure, that's a standard reaction.
So how is that connected to a cosmic architecture?
Well, first, we really have to step away from the pop culture version of astrology.
Right.
Like the generic daily horoscopes predicting you'll spill your coffee or,
Yeah.
fatalistic fear-mongering. What the BTS research focuses on is astrology as a mapping of structural patterns.
Okay.
Massive planetary cycles that act as timing mechanisms for macro-level societal shifts.
I see.
The celestial movements are illuminating the structural boundaries of our internal energy and our external geopolitical developments. So when you feel that sudden resistance this week, you are basically experiencing a cosmic audit of your own limitations.
Wait, a cosmic audit? Okay, but break that down for me. Why does the audit manifest as friction? Because if the system just wants to keep me safe, shouldn't it, I don't know, quietly block the excess data without me even noticing?
That makes sense in theory, but think of it like an engine's governor.
Okay.
When a motor tries to spin faster than its structural integrity allows, the governor engages to restrict the fuel flow, and that restriction causes immense physical resistance. The engine shakes, it pushes back, it gets loud.
Okay.
Similarly, your psychological limits and these massive geopolitical tightenings we're seeing, they are localized reflections of this cosmic filter.
Hmm.
The architecture is demanding that you reevaluate how you process the completely overwhelming data of the modern world.
So the friction isn't a punishment.
Exactly. It's an energetic requirement to prevent you from taking in more than your localized reality can process.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if we are experiencing this cosmic audit today, and it's this fundamental structural rule, ancient civilizations must have felt this exact same friction.
Oh, absolutely. They lived inside the same architecture.
But they didn't have terms like, data compression or rate limiting filter or engine governor. How did they warn each other about these boundaries without modern technical or psychological vocabulary?
Well, they used the vocabulary that was available to them, which brings us to decoding ancient mythology.
Right, the ancient gods.
Yeah. The problem is, modern readers tend to view ancient gods as literal characters, or mythical monsters, or just entertaining folklore. But what they really were doing was naming highly specific, functional cosmic offices.
Offices, like an org chart.
The sky was literally an organizational chart.
Which makes a lot of sense if you realize these cultures were observing the same universe we are. They were just describing it differently. But what does that org chart actually look like computationally?
Well, the research suggests that when an ancient text introduces a figure at a threshold, we should be asking what function that office performs in the cosmic routing system.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Let's look at Thoth in Egypt or Mercury in Rome.
Okay.
They are usually flattened down to just being, gods of communication.
Right, the messenger gods.
Exactly.
Right.
But functionally, they represent the systemic routing of messages, memory, and data across a network.
Oh, wow.
Or look at Saturn. I mean, modern pop astrology often paints Saturn as a villain bringing doom and gloom.
Yeah, nobody wants a Saturn return.
Right. But as a celestial office, Saturn is simply the necessary function of limit, time, boundary, and the ultimate audit.
Wait, okay. If Saturn is just a necessary boundary, doing a mundane computational job like a firewall checking packets of data, why has it been universally feared and associated with doom for centuries? That feels like a bit of a contradiction.
It does, but it's mostly because humans generally hate limits.
That is fair.
Right. When a firewall blocks your access, or a judge, which in myth represents complex sorting functions, denies your progress, you perceive it as a hostile act. But the system is just maintaining the bandwidth boundary.
Yeah.
Gatekeepers aren't evil.
They just serve as the transition logic between realms.
Exactly.
I see. So it's essentially like a massive ZIP file.
On a ZIP file, yes.
They took these incredibly complex instructions about routes, timing, boundaries, and sorting functions, and they compressed them into symbols, sky diagrams, and myths. Like the sacred mountain, Mount Meru, which the research says marks the axis logic of the whole system.
Precisely. It's a highly sophisticated compression format.
But here's the catch with ZIP files. If you try to unpack a massive file on hardware that can't support it, your computer crashes.
Right.
So how did they safely decompress this information back then?
Well, that is the core of what some traditions call the Great Remembrance.
The Great Remembrance.
Yeah, and it's not just romantic nostalgia for some lost golden age. It is the active process of decompressing these hidden instructions. And to do it safely without crashing the human nervous system, they didn't just tell stories. They built highly controlled physical operating interfaces.
Which brings us to the ancient temples.
Yes.
Because usually when we think of a temple today, we think of a static museum or a place for quiet reflection or just, pretty ruins for tourists to take photos of.
But the sacred building itself controlled how cosmological instructions were revealed. When you walk through a structure like the Denera Temple complex in Egypt, you are basically walking through an operating system.
How so? Like mechanically?
Every architectural choice is a functional layer. The temple ceiling isn't just decorative art. It serves as the sky layer.
Okay.
The hidden crypts beneath the floors aren't just storage cellars. They are strict permission layers. And the deliberate use of darkness within these chambers acts as a perception filter.
I want to pause on that because the idea of darkness as a perception filter sounds very poetic, but how does that actually work mechanically? Does the physical darkness alter the nervous system biologically?
It absolutely does.
Really?
Yeah, when you enter total or near total darkness, you are starved of visual input, which forces your pupils to dilate and alters your brainwave states.
Wow.
It often shifts you from active, high-alert beta waves into deeper, receptive alpha or theta states. So by depriving the nervous system of ambient noise, the temple basically lowers your sensory defenses.
That's incredible.
And only then, in that highly specific altered biological state was a symbol or an instruction revealed to the initiate.
So you couldn't just casually stroll in and look at the sacred geometry. The temple was an initiation path designed to teach your body how to handle cosmic data safely.
Exactly. It kept the symbols hidden until you had satisfied the exact energetic conditions required.
And the research points out that at Dendera, this interface reaches an astonishing level of complexity. The ancient star maps there, specifically the 48 constellations, are actually believed by some traditions to decode the human nervous system itself.
Yes, the star map is essentially an anatomical mirror.
An anatomical mirror, so it maps the celestial spheres directly onto human biological organs.
Yes, that is the ancient model.
If that's the case, our physical bodies were literally designed to be the hardware for this cosmic software.
Yeah.
The nervous system is the receiver for the cosmic egg.
That's it perfectly. The temple was the device that taught humanity how to safely unzip the cosmic files using their own biology.
That is just a brilliant architectural solution, but, and here is where I get stuck, it raises a massive logical problem.
Okay, what's that?
Well, if Dendera is this perfect, pristine map of how the cosmos and the body connect, why do creation stories and cosmological maps from other cultures completely contradict it?
Yeah.
Because if you look globally, one tradition says the boundary of reality is a cosmic shell. Another says it's a massive world tree. Another says it's a giant dragon. And another relies on a strict system of divine law. If they are all describing the exact same invariant cosmic truth, why do they disagree so sharply?
That is the trap comparative religion often falls into. People try to smooth over the differences with syncretism, making this soft claim that, oh, all religions are exactly the same.
Right.
But they aren't. The Beyond the Shell research points out that when myths disagree, that disagreement is actually the most vital clue. It reveals the existence of a translation layer.
A translation layer. So the contradictory costumes the myths wear are deliberate.
Yes. Think about the function of a user interface on a computer. If you are trying to render the exact same unmanageable infinite code to a finite user, you have to use an interface they understand.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. A culture living in a dense ancient forest will render the boundary of reality differently than an agrarian culture living in a desert. They are simply rendering the same unmanageable infinite field through different local interfaces.
Okay, I see.
The invariant truth, the fact that finite observers require a filter before infinite reality becomes usable, remains identical. The myth is just the local costume. The invariant truth is the filter.
The underlying code is the same, but the UI changes based on the user. And what's wild to me is that modern science seems to be hitting this exact same translation problem right now.
Yes, we are seeing it constantly.
Our best, most advanced scientific maps of the universe are starting to disagree with themselves.
We're seeing it across multiple disciplines. Modern science is hitting the exact same boundary problems that the ancients mapped. The map works perfectly until it reaches the edge of its domain, and then it just breaks.
Let's unpack the Hubble tension because this is a perfect example from the research. We have our standard model of how fast the universe is expanding, right? But when astrophysicists measure the early universe and then measure the late universe expansion rates, the two numbers flatly refuse to reconcile. They just don't match up.
And it's not just the Hubble tension. We are getting strange anomalies reported from the James Webb Space Telescope, too.
Like what?
Well, we are seeing cosmic birefringence, which is the rotation of light as it travels across the universe. And that suggests the cosmos might actually have a directional bias.
Like a lopsided universe.
Exactly, a lopsided universe.
Which shouldn't be possible if the universe is just a random dead machine expanding equally in all directions.
Right, and then you have fast radio bursts, or FRBs.
Oh yeah, the FRBs.
These are incredibly powerful, mysterious pings of energy reaching us from deep space, and they act like they're echoing through some hidden cosmic medium we can't even see.
But why does this breaking of the scientific map prove there is a cosmic filter? I mean, playing devil's advocate here, why isn't it just a case of our telescopes not being powerful enough yet?
Because the universe enforces strict rules and no signaling limits that even time cannot break. What modern physics is increasingly bumping up against is the realization that the geometry of reality itself decides what signals are allowed to reach the observer.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's not just a lack of technological power, it's a structural boundary.
Yeah.
The universe actively filters what you are allowed to see based on the parameters of your localized reality.
Yeah.
Modern science is just finally finding the edge of the cosmic egg.
That is mind-bending. But look, if we know the map always breaks the edge and that infinite chaos is basically always pressing against our localized reality, how does a civilization actually survive that?
That's the big question.
Because if I'm, say, an ancient emperor looking at societal collapse, my first instinct is just to build a massive physical wall and enforce brutal laws to stop the chaos.
Well, that is exactly what historical civilizations have tried. And one of the most elegant syntheses of this entire framework comes from ancient Chinese philosophical systems. These were built during the Warring States period, which was a time of immense civil war, societal collapse, and absolute chaos. They didn't just write abstract philosophy. They effectively built an operating system for reality to survive it.
Wow.
And they actually tried your idea first. Legalism?
Right, legalism acted as the shell and the limit layer. It provided strict standards, boundary protocols, and harsh laws. It was the absolute firewall.
Exactly.
But obviously, a firewall alone isn't enough because a rigid machine shatters under pressure.
Precisely. A society built only on strict limits cannot adapt. So they layered it. You need Taoism to provide the flow and the memory layer.
Oh, wisdom, right.
Taoism introduced the non-coercive pattern field, the idea of moving with the natural current of the universe. It prevented the legalist shell from becoming a dead, rigid machine.
So you have legalism as the hardware enforcing the boundary, and Taoism as the fluid software managing the flow of data. But how does an individual citizen living during the Warring States period actually integrate that? How do you map this massive cosmic operating system onto a single human being?
That required the third translation layer, which was naturalism. And that includes the concepts of yin-yang and the 5 phases.
Ah,
This was the mechanism that mapped the cosmic order directly onto the human body, the seasons, and local human experience. It basically told the individual how to align their physical health, their agriculture, and their daily routines with the macro cycles of the cosmos.
it's the perfect model for how a civilization installs a necessary bottleneck between cosmic excess and localized human experience.
It really is.
You have the limit layer, the flow layer, and the biological translation layer, and it's all the exact same filter.
Yes.
Whether it's the architecture of Dendera or the offices of the ancient gods, the layers of Chinese philosophy, or the edge of the James Webb Telescope's vision.
Exactly. Which brings us to a crucial synthesis for the week ending July 17th.
Yeah, let's tie this all back to the listener.
From the macro-level geopolitical boundaries tightening across the globe, to the Sunday astrological cycles highlighting our need for personal structural limits, none of this is random chaos.
We are living inside the mechanics of the cosmic egg. The real-world developments we are witnessing are just the friction of the translation layer recalibrating.
Exactly.
The era of the dead machine universe is ending, and the Great Remembrance is demanding that we learn how to read the sky manuals once again.
So if we apply this architectural model to daily life, sudden roadblocks aren't bad luck. Functionally, they're the system enforcing a limit. The next time a myth presents you with a terrifying monster, or, an astrological transit brings a formidable challenge to your doorstep, or you just hit a wall in your career, don't ask why the universe is randomly punishing you.
Instead, ask the structural question. What cosmic function is being performed? What boundary is being enforced to keep your specific local reality intact? And most importantly, what instruction is waiting to be decompressed?
The friction is just the architecture doing its job. It's the transformer stepping down the nuclear power plant so your vintage light bulb doesn't blow out.
It's a paradigm-shifting way to look at our limits, but it leaves me with one final, lingering question for you to explore on your own. If this entire architecture, this translation layer of myths, temples, and physics, requires a shell just to keep your finite body from burning down in the infinite light, what happens to your consciousness when you finally learn how to step outside the boundary?